Alright everybody, so how are we doing today? Speaking more on the Iran situation, for our final little story today, Europeans talk big, but not ready to invest in saving nuclear deal. This is from RT, question more. Iran Foreign Minister Javad Zarif has scolded European leaders for their failure to make good on promises to save the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. Meanwhile, Tehran is stepping up its nuclear activity in response. The Europeans claim that they were willing to maintain the JCPOA, but we have not seen Europe yet to be ready for an investment, through told reporters in New York ahead of a United Nations meeting on Monday. Under the terms of the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the parties to deal are obliged to trade with Iran, since the U.S. military withdrew from the government last year. European signatories have implemented a non-dollar payment system to facilitate this trade, but have thus far limited trade to food and medicines. Tehran wants the Europeans to deal in Iranian oil, a cornerstone of Islamic Republic's economy, the sector heavily sanctioned by Washington. If you ask me, I just think that the Europeans don't want to run afoul of our sanctions placed on the oil by Trump. They'd be getting a pretty raw deal out of it, and I think they'd want things to be a little more their way. I mean, that's always how the Europeans have been. They can't stand things not going the way they want them to. They do everything sort of stamping their feet and acting like a toddler half the time. Of course, that's just my perception of it. I mean, I could be all wet on that notion, but nonetheless, it's like, it's sort of a what do we get out of it kind of thing. The Europeans have no great sympathy towards Iran. And why would they? Iran wants them to buy oil, but they're not buying oil. And that's partly Trump's fault because of the sanctions, but also the Europeans for being unreasonable or cowardly. Perhaps a little bit of both, to be honest. Talking about saving the agreement is totally different from being ready to make the investment required to save that deal, and the Europeans have not done that yet, Zarif told the press. Mohammed Zarif again. In response to the perceived European inaction, Tehran stepped up its uranium enrichment last Monday beyond the 3.67% purification cap set by the JCPOA, after the country's nuclear agency threatened further increases in enrichment and the reactivation of dormant centrifuges. Foreign Ministry spokesman Abbas Mousavi announced that Iran will give Europe 60 days to salvage the JCPOA through negotiations, and will offer no further deadlines. Britain, Germany, and France have cautioned Iran against further enrichment increases, but refrained from applying sanctions. French President Emmanuel Macron dispatched a diplomat to Tehran last week for talks, but threatened Iran with vague consequences if enrichment continues. Really? So you went that route, Macron? Really? That's how you chose to handle this? You sent some dude to sort of send thinly veiled threats? It's like, you behave now, but do it with no potency, so you're just kind of wagging your finger like a grade school teacher? What is the world coming to, man? Just what is it coming to? Europe in this situation has not only been ineffectual, but completely unreasonable, in my opinion. Mind you, I don't think that Trump ever should have broken the deal with Iran. He should have stuck within it. But admittedly, I think that eventually the sanctions will take their toll, and Iran might make some concessions which could lead to a new deal being signed. In their position, that's what I would do, just to end the madness so I can start selling oil again. A major cornerstone of their economy. They're going to suffer for it eventually. Trump's hitting them with a lot of pressure. I just wonder if they'll ever cave. They're looking to Europe for some relief, but Europe's not offering anything. Instead, they send that guy to wag their finger at them. And that just leads me to thinking, like, is Europe sort of secretly on our side, but not wanting to, like, come out right out and say that they are? Because it kind of seems that way to me. Anyway, the United States, for its part, maintained its hard-line stance. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo warned Iran that it would face further sanctions and isolation if it refuses to reverse course on its nuclear program. Washington called a meeting of the International Atomic Energy Agency in response. In all these meetings, the U.S. unilateral policies have been condemned. Now it's time for Washington to return to the international community, as Zarif said on Sunday, days after the IAEA meeting ended with no agreement. Honestly, though, I would feel so much better about this situation if the Europeans would just be clear about whose side they're on, or what policy they want to encourage. Do they or do they not want Iran to return to the deal? Are they not extending a hand to Iran? Or are they just bullshitting us? That's what I want to know. Answer that question for me, Europe. Do it. And I can say Europe as a whole since you guys are in that whole EU thing together. Anyway,